Imagine your village is dying of thirst, crops are failing, and hope is fading. But what if the answer was right next door, hidden in plain sight? What would you do if the maid cooking your food every day was secretly plotting to take your place? Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what happened in this house. And the way she planned it will leave you speechless. Watch till the end. The truth is darker than you think. Melissa and her husband Raymond Kokoro had been married for 4 peaceful years. Their home was filled with laughter, shared routines, and silent gestures of love that didn't need explanation. They had their ups and downs like every couple, but overall they were happy. Raymond Kokoro worked at a construction firm while Melissa rested all day long because she was a beautiful woman and born into a wealthy family with strong religious roots. Her parents were devoted Christians, but Melissa wasn't as focused on faith. She was more interested in living a luxurious and easy life. After her marriage with Raymond Kokoro, she stepped into a life of even more riches and comfort. When Melissa married Raymond, she didn't just gain a husband, but also wealth. Raymond was a true gentleman, patient, soft-spoken, and generous. He never forced her to do chores like cooking or cleaning. He showered her with gifts and let her live the life of her dreams. Melissa didn't like doing housework. Her fingernails were always perfectly done, and her long lashes stayed flawless. Most days, you'd find her relaxing in the fancy living room, watching Netflix with the AC on full blast. She would often shout, "Dina, bring me some juice. Dina, I want cold water. I want this. I want that." Melissa believed that since they had plenty of money, there was no reason for her to bother with household tasks. Her main goal was to pamper herself and avoid stress. Over the years, Melissa's house had become a place where housemaids rarely lasted longer than a few weeks. It wasn't that the job was too hard or that the salary was too little. No, the real issue was Melissa herself. From the outside, she seemed like a calm and well-mannered woman. But once someone stepped into her home as staff, it was only a matter of time before her true colors showed. For many months, Melissa had struggled to find the right maid. Every girl who came to work left after a few weeks. Some left quietly while others argued before walking out. The reason? Melissa was too involved in everything. One day she would say, "This food has no taste." The next day, "Why is the floor still dirty?" Sometimes she'd tell a maid, "You smell, go and shower." Another day, she would complain, "The bathroom is still stinking. Did you even wash it?" No matter how hard the maids tried, Melissa was never fully satisfied. Some cried, some begged her to be patient, but eventually they all left. The house help agency even stopped picking her calls. It seemed no one wanted to work for her anymore. Then one day, a quiet and polite girl named Sime came to the house. She looked clean, humble, and always smiled. Melissa tested her for 1 week, and to her surprise, Sime did everything well. Cooked tasty food, cleaned every corner, and even ironed clothes neatly without being told. For the first time, Melissa felt peaceful. She even told her husband, "This girl is different. She knows how to work." What Melissa didn't know was that behind that sweet face lived a silent storm. Semi had studied her surroundings well. She had seen the way Melissa sat in her beautiful silk robes, sipping imported juice while giving out orders. She had watched Melissa's soft hands, her polished nails, her sparkling rings. She had walked past the master's study and inhaled the scent of expensive cologne. Luxury used from every corner of the house, and Sime wanted it. She didn't want to remain a maid. No, she wanted to become the Melissa, the madam. And to do that, she knew exactly what she needed: Melissa's husband. At first, Sime started with small things. She started wearing short clothes around the house when the husband was around. She would wear body-fitted blouses while serving food or bend low while sweeping. But the husband never noticed. He was a disciplined man, deeply in love with his wife. He avoided even looking at Sime. This made Sime angry, but she hid it. Then she tried to make a conflict between the couple. Sime quietly took one of Melissa's red lipsticks and smeared it on Raymond Kokoro's white inner shirt. Leaving it on the edge of his collar, she folded it neatly, placing it among the washed clothes. When Melissa found it at night, her stomach dropped, but instead of exploding, she calmly asked, "Raymond Kokoro, did someone hug you at work?" Raymond Kokoro looked puzzled. "No." "Why?" She showed him the shirt. He blinked. "I swear I have no idea where that came from." Seme, hiding behind the kitchen door, expected a fight, but instead they laughed it off, both suspecting it might have happened during a crowded mall or office prank. Her first plan had failed, but this only fed Seme's bitterness. She hated Melissa even more now, so she wants to play the perfect wife, she muttered. That's when she decided to end the marriage by any means necessary. After 5 years of marriage, Melissa and her husband had started trying for a baby, but strange things began to happen. Melissa would miss her periods and think she was pregnant, but then suddenly, bleeding would return. Sometimes she had severe stomach pain, other times, vomiting that didn't stop. They visited several doctors. Every test said she was fine. But deep inside, she knew something was wrong. One day, Melissa's auntie came to stay with them for a few days. Auntie was old school, sharp-eyed, and nothing escaped her attention. From the moment she saw Seme, she raised a brow. "Why is your maid wearing such tight skirts?" she asked Melissa in private. Melissa laughed it off. Oh, Auntie. She's just young and stylish. But Auntie wasn't convinced. She confronted Simi directly. The maid lowered her eyes, apologized, and said the outfit was due to the heat. She immediately went to change into something modest, playing the role of the respectful servant. But Auntie kept watching. Later that evening, Simi cooked a special meal for the auntie. I made this just for you, Ma, she said with a big smile. Even Melissa said, Simi cooks very well, please try it. But Auntie was suspicious. Something didn't feel right. She smiled but said no thank you. I already ate. That night she had a strange dream. She saw her nice Melissa eating from a plate. But suddenly the food turned into moving worms. Melissa looked weak and sick in the dream. Auntie woke up sweating. She knew it was more than just a dream. In the morning she called Melissa and said, I feel something is wrong in this house. They called their church pastor to pray. The next morning, Pastor Daniel arrived at the house. He was a calm and respected man. Melissa welcomed him with a heavy heart. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes. The pastor walked into the living room, looked around silently, then said in a soft but firm voice, We will pray, but you must believe. Everyone gathered. Melissa, her aunt, her husband, even the driver and security guard stood in silence. The maid, Simi, stood at a distance, wiping her hands on her apron, her eyes darting left and right like a trapped animal. Pastor Daniel began to pray. At first, it was quiet, gentle words, Bible verses, but soon the pastor raised his voice, calling on the name of Jesus. The atmosphere in the room changed. The air felt heavy. Melissa's hands began to shake. The lights flickered. Suddenly, Simi let out a sharp cry. Everyone turned to her. She grabbed her head, screaming, Stop, stop it. The pastor turned his attention to her. He stepped forward and said, In the name of Jesus, any evil hiding in this house, speak now. Simi dropped to her knees. I didn't want to harm anyone, she shouted. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she held her head. I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted a better life. Melissa's husband stepped back in shock. Melissa covered her mouth with her hands. I mixed things into her food, Simi cried. Not poison, but charms. Small powders the Bubba gave me. He said they would make her weak, make her go away slowly so I could take her place. The room went silent. Simi sobbed loudly, her voice echoing. Every time she tried to get pregnant, I would add a little more in her tea or her soup. I didn't want her dead, just gone. I thought if she left, he would see me, love me. Melissa leaned back into the couch, her heart racing. She looked at her husband, who looked completely shocked. Pastor Daniel took a deep breath and said, Why, child? Why would you do this? Simi looked up, her face full of pain. I wasn't always like this. She paused, then began to tell her story. I was only 13 when I started working as a maid. My father died early. My mother was sick and bedridden. I worked in a big house just like this one. From morning till night, I worked, cleaned, cooked, washed clothes, but they were never happy. The Melissa would scream at me for small things. The Ogo would call me useless. When my mother fell very sick, I begged them for a small loan. They said no. They said I should focus on work. That night, their guest insulted me, called me a village girl with a village smell. She paused, wiping her tears. My mother died 2 days later. I wasn't even there. I was scrubbing toilets. That day I told myself I would never live like that again. Never poor, never insulted, never ignored. She looked at Melissa. When I came to your house, I thought you had everything. A kind husband, a big house, beautiful clothes. I wanted that life. At first I thought if I worked hard, maybe one day. But when I saw how your husband respected you, cared for you, I started to wish I was in your place. That maybe if you were gone I could finally be seen. Everyone in the room stood in silence, watching Simi as she confessed her darkest thoughts. I tried everything to win his attention, wore short dresses, put on makeup when you weren't around. But he ignored me every time. That made me angrier, so I went to a Bubba in my village. He gave me something, a powder to mix in your food. I started slowly. At first, you just felt weak. Then, the pregnancy troubles began. I didn't know it would make you suffer like this for so long. Pastor Daniel knelt beside her, still praying in low tones. Then he turned to Melissa and her husband. She has spoken her truth. This was a spiritual battle, and now we know where it came from. Her husband stepped forward. I never gave her a reason to think, to dream this way. I loved my wife. I still do. Simi looked up. I know. I see it now. That's why I'm telling you. I'm sorry. Pastor Daniel stood and said, Forgiveness is hard but freeing. What she did was wrong, but now that the truth is out, the healing can begin. Melissa looked at Simi, this girl who had worked quietly in her house, cooking her meals, washing her clothes, and slowly poisoning her body. She closed her eyes and whispered, I forgive you, say, but you cannot stay here anymore. Simi nodded slowly. I understand. I'll leave. I already packed my bag. Later that evening, Melissa sat by her husband. I think I want to take a break from housemaids, she said softly. Her husband smiled. You don't need anyone. You're stronger than you know. She nodded, looking around the house. She once thought she couldn't manage on her own, but now she knew she could. The next morning, she cleaned the living room by herself. She cooked a small breakfast, Simple, peaceful, and when she sat down to eat, she smiled. Not because everything was perfect, but because it was finally real. What's your advice to married couples about trusting housemates or outsiders? Share your story below. Your comment might comfort someone going through the same. Let's help others learn from this.